let's say I prefer the word invest. I think you have to spend money to make money sometimes. That has to do with trading as well as education. I think that it's important to educate yourself. I think to me, if I had the right education, I probably left thousands of dollars on the table just doing the wrong strike prices and doing the wrong option strategies.
I think most
So
people who are willing to invest in themselves never focus on what it's costing. They focus more on, do I believe this will give me ROI, and how fast? How fast can I make my money back if I make this investment? And then I'll put that into the next thing to level up. I think far too
yeah.
many people think about the cost. Now, again, obviously, with respect to everybody and how much they can invest in themselves. But if you can, in an opportunity, the first thing should be, will this pay for itself? How fast do I believe this will work for me? Then it's a IQ test at that point. If you believe it'll work and you have the money, then it's a no-brainer at that point. It's not about the cost. It's about having, now you have that skill for the rest of your life, actually. That's how I see
Yeah.
everything. I invest a lot of money in myself.
Yeah, that's how I look at it too. I think that investing in yourself is important. If you really want to master options, the most important thing to master is not just obviously the math behind it, the Greeks and all that stuff. It's really strategy selection and when to use it and why and how. That's what kind of separates a professional from someone who's just out there buying calls and puts and speculating on things, because I know plenty of options traders that have been really frustrated with their results because they do some more simple strategies, out of the money calls, out of the money puts, and sometimes they make a lot of money, which is great if they're right exactly at the right time and they're perfect. But that only happens maybe 2 out of 10 times.
Like those odds.
Yeah, to me, options trading is stocks is similar to, it's a probability game. You want the odds to be in your favor, but most traders don't really have a very high winning percentage. Most professional traders, their winning percentage is not something you would put on the refrigerator and show your mom back in school. You know what I mean? If you have a 60 something percent winning percentage in trading, that's pretty darn good. As long as you manage your risk, as long as the down doesn't destroy your winners. And that's the key to good options trading. Like putting these debit strategies together, you know exactly how much you're putting on the table. You know exactly how much you're risking. And if it's $500, it's $500. If it's $300, it's $300. You know exactly what it is. That's the key. You always think of the downside first.
I think that is the difference between, and again, whether you quit your job or not, I'll say professional, is the depth of managing the downside first. Because let's face it, if you got the downside managed, one of the things that a lot of people fail to put into the equation is you have to give yourself a chance to learn. And if you're blowing your account up and refunding it, blowing your account up and refunding it, you're not actually getting experience. So there's nothing wrong with dialing back the amount of risk that you're putting into the idea to learn to make better decisions. Because if you manage the downside, you'll be around long enough to learn how to make more when some of those ideas follow through and put yourself into better positions.
Absolutely. 100%. The key is always managing the downside. And I tell my students that the money shows up. If you manage the downside, I can't guarantee how profitable you'll be or what you'll make and how much you'll make, who knows, but the money starts showing up once you manage the downside.
Yeah. You'll be surprised also how lucky you get when you're putting in that work and a few trades follow through. We actually had something the other day that we were talking about in the community. I think it's a really big misconception, I think, and I'm actually glad you just brought it up, that for some reason people think that professional traders never have losing trades. What I've been doing in the community a lot recently, especially after the morning or the end of the day, I've been saying I made 7 trades today. 5 of them did not make money, but I was profitable today.
Yeah.
So again, managing the downside and learning how and when to either size up or hold longer. It's really, honestly, it's about managing risk and learning how to make more in the good trades.
Yeah, that's another thing too. That's another thing you just touched on. In the options market, you can also size up, right? You can start with a half position. I call them units, risk unit, right? Let's say your maximum risk is X. You start your option strategy with maybe half of that. And then as the trade starts to work, what you're doing is you're building equity capital in the trade, right? You have an actual, let's say, a profitable trade going on. Then you could start adding to it, and that's something that you know is really effective, especially with options, because you can add on things very quickly.